All right, we're getting ready to start. I'm going to prepare and share the screen on the other side. We've already started our live stream. So hold on. All right, let's go over. All right, this is being recorded. Review purposes, part 2, found on our YouTube. All right, so as we come back from part 1, where we introed into chapter 8 on the aesthetic side, we also just finished treatment room setup. And we also finished the setup for the facial and cleanup as well. So all of this is just amazing. We're flowing right behind in our Cosmo course. Same subject. But let's get into the treatment. So explain the key steps of the basic facial treatments. So there's a lot of components. One thing I need you to know that your textbook is simply just a basics. It's simply just a starting point. It's just a guard. It's just a starting point, okay? And you will find based on what's going on with a person's skin, you will continue to build on that starting point, that foundation. You'll continue to grow, all right? And you will start to customize those services for each client, all right? So the basic facial is just a, brings it all together. And then you build on top of that based on what's going on with that person's skin. I'm going to highlight today things that are referencing your state board exam or things that you should know and go back to will be highlighted in yellow. All right. As you know, the subject assignment for this course is going to be starting on the check-in questions. All right. So by the time we finish this chapter, the check-in questions should be complete as well. All right. So it says explain the key steps of the basic facial. All right. Not only we're going to go over those steps, but you need to understand product knowledge as well. So as we go over those steps, it'll be an extension of those steps of talking about products. Okay. And what do we use? Why? As we go over the steps, one of the biggest things that you need to take away is why, the why, the why, the why, which I talked about the benefit as well. The why. Why do someone need a mask? Why do they need extractions? Why do they need exfoliation? So you understanding the why, when you see it, you're going to say, well, I know exactly what you need. You remember, I'm training you to become the solutionist. Okay. And if I can train you to become the solutionist, you're always going to be okay. Okay. So it says at this point, you've learned how to set up a treatment room, meet and greet. We've gotten a little comfortable with the client. Okay. And now you're ready to familiarize yourself with some steps. But here's what sticks their head out every time. Okay. The consultation. The consultation analysis sticks its head out every time. When you think you're going to get away from it, here it comes again. Once you started to see in chapter 5 more of that analysis and building on that consultation, I told you that you were going to see it throughout. Okay, you were going to continue to see it throughout. Hold one moment as we get ready to change the slide. Okay. So it says, as you practice facials, follow the chart, and we'll check the chart out too. Yes, we know you have to memorize the steps, but once you understand the actual procedure, it's going to make it easy for you to know what comes next and why it comes next. Okay. So let's highlight here. It says, in general, most basic facials takes approximately an hour. Let's make sure we highlight that. That's a good note, okay? Which means when you're starting out, it may take you an hour and a half in the learning process, okay? Which is 1 or 2 facials. And then you start moving your mark to an hour, all right? Now, that hour may move down to 50 minutes. On average, basic facials will take 50 minutes to an hour, okay? If you're a person that's booking a lot of facials, you need to first learn how long it takes you to do that service, okay? Because if it takes you 2 hours to do that service, you're kind of wasting time and wasting money, because that 2 hours, extensive 2 hours for a basic facial, you're just not, you're losing the value of the service, okay? All because you're taking your time and you're doing more, you're not adding more value to the service. You're pulling value away that you could have in your pocket. Okay. And so we want to make sure that when we are now moving into performing services, we look at the average timing of those services. Your timing after initial studying should be 50 minutes to 1 hour. Okay. And I say 50 minutes because 10 minutes of getting them settled in and prepping them to leave, all of that will move into that 60-minute range. Okay. And so, all because you take more time and you're doing extra things, if the client is stuck at paying the basic facial, you're basically giving away your services. All right. So you're not adding more value to you. You are basically just at this point giving it away. And for that extra hour you could have been working and getting full price for something, you just lost that amount of money for the day. I like to talk about the highs, the lows, the risks, everything when we do our services. And a lot of people just concentrate just on the hands-on. That's amazing. The book work, the theory component, the lecture has to come right along with it. But what we neglect sometimes is building that business aspect of the services. You got to understand the wealth that's within whatever you're doing. Aesthetics has always been a high-end concentrated service. You can price it at basic, mid, and premium. Okay. As most estheticians and the history just of aesthetics and performing the services, you're being able to get some top dollar for the services that you provide. All right. This is no way day and age where you should be looking at other people and dictating your facial based on what they charge. Okay. A lot of times that's where we get it wrong, we get it messed up. Even some people will look at where the location of the spa is based on where it is, they charge less. No. Okay. Perfect and hone your craft. Okay. And what you put into your training is going to set the beginning of what you're going to charge. Also, so you have your craft and then you also have your products, and that's what you're going to use, your products, supplies, equipment. You're going to make sure, that's loaded in that price. And then overall, your continuing education, your certifications, that cost. So the more you know is the more you grow, the more money you make. And so with adding all that together, I would never look and say, what they doing over there? Oh, okay, I'm gonna run 50 over here. I'm gonna run a $50 special since she running a $55. I'm gonna run a 50. We never should be running specials and looking at somebody else's business and trying to undercut, thinking that we're gonna get all the money or the most the value. The value starts to be undercutted as well. So just remember when we're going in learning the basic facial, the pricing of the service does not, equal the length of the service, which means somebody could say, well, I was only there for an hour. I was only on the bed for an hour, but it's what I gave you for the hour. And so I'm just breaking these myths that many of us have in our heads about pricing. Aesthetic services are mostly misquoted and mispriced. Okay. Because if you're looking, and really within the last 10 years, it's misquoted and mispriced. All right. Even the basic facial starts at $90 mark in most spas. So we don't have a whole lot of time to give you, and the $90 is just a general cleansing. Okay. Most of the time that you have people who are coming into your business, they have other things going on with their skin. So you will have to build a facial based on dry skin, oily skin, combination, acne, aging, wrinkles, melasma, hyperpigmentation, whatever's going on with their skin, you will start building from that envelope. Okay. So this is why You learn, you learn, you learn, and you grow, you grow, you grow, and you don't go in and try to compete and run sales and deals like everybody else, because what you offer needs to have value attached to it. Okay. So you make sure that you do the same thing. And I only said that because it mentioned the time for the service. And remember, time is money, or I may say time is currency, exchanged in every state, every country. Okay. And so one time is the one thing we cannot get back. And so you should not be spending your time on something that you're not going to reap a reward from. All right. So we want to cut that off right now, or thinking you spending more time on it that it's going to increase the cost if the client is already saying, this is what I agreed to pay. Now, most facials, when you start to add many other things on there, the time will increase, and also the value of the service increase as well. Okay, so every time we pick up a facial device, that's an increase. That's an increase to the services. So remember, in general, most basic facials take about an hour. You're gonna need that. You're gonna see that again. Table 8.1 has timing suggestions. We'll get over and look at that. Let me just click 8.1 and look at the timing suggestions. Okay, this is something for you guys to highlight on page 306. A setup, suggested time 5 minutes, acne facial 5 minutes, express 5 minutes. So it should not take 30 minutes for a student to set up for a facial. Okay, 5 minutes. Consultation is 3 to 5 minutes, and it's if you're doing an express facial, the express facial is what we call a lunchtime facial. So it was done anywhere between 30, should be done right at about 30 minutes. All right. So we don't have a lot of time for express. Most of the people that are getting express, they're not getting anything new. Nothing in that chart really changes. Draping, 2 minutes. Towels, option preparing the towels, 2 minutes. Cleansing, okay. Cleansing, 3 to 5 minutes. Skin analysis, 5 minutes. And for the express facial, very brief. Exfoliation on just a basic facial is 8 to 10 minutes. Okay. Acne facial, 5 minutes, and 8 to 10 on an express. Steam or towels, you're looking at just 5 minutes. Extractions, 10 minutes. You're skipping this on an express facial. All right. Remember, express facial is a time of about 30 minutes. You are not going to perform everything that you do in a standard facial. You are going to skip a few areas. Okay. For massage, 10 minutes. Acne facial, or an express facial, you may skip it or you make it very brief. The mask is 8 to 10 minutes across the board until you get to the express facial, and you have to shorten that. Okay, very, very brief. Toner, a minute application. Moisturizer, a minute application. Post consultation, you are talking about post consultation. This is you educating the client, giving them instructions, retail, checking them out, 5 minutes. Okay. So on average, the standard basic facial, you're looking at 1 hour, 60 minutes, 50 minutes for acne facials. Okay. Because acne facials, you don't do a whole lot of rubbing, a whole lot of doing anything, because we're trying to heal and we mainly treat just the acne. And then for an express facial, which is also called a lunchtime facial, the timing is 30 minutes. Okay. All right. So there's very many variations to the basic guidelines. These are the basics. And if you look at how it's listed here, this is basically the steps of the facial. You're gonna set it up, do the consultation, you're gonna drape them. Towels are optional, yay or nay. Cleansing, okay. After we cleansing, we're gonna do a skin analysis. We're gonna look at the skin under the microscope. From there, if everything's good, we're going to go to exfoliation. Okay. Exfoliation to the steam towel. You will be graded on a facial for stable prep. That includes a steam towel. Okay. A steam or steam towels. Then you have your extractions, your basic massage, your mask, your toner, your moisturizer, and your post consultation. All right. Post consultation. Some individuals will include a serum in between the mask and um, in between the toner and the moisturizer. They will include a serum, and also some facials will include sunscreen as the last thing you will put on after the moisturizer. Okay, so this is what we talk about, just basic guidelines you can create and add and take away different variations based on what's going on with the client's skin. Here's at table 8.2, when we talk about what's going on with the client's skin, you are to look, to touch, to ask, and to listen. Okay. When you're analyzing the skin using a magnifying lamp, place iPads on the eyes. You place iPads on the eyes. I make sure mine are a little damp because you want to break that effect of that bright light over the client's eye. Okay. Try not to cover what you need to look at around the eyes, smaller, or cut them in half, your iPads. Okay. And this is what we look for. Look for any obvious skin conditions and note the skin type. What type of skin do we have going on? And what do we see that's not normal? Okay. Do we see any redness, drying, flaking? Do we see any pimples, blackheads, whiteheads? I'm doing a visual observation. Okay. Next, touch the skin. All right. Noting its elasticity, softness, texture, and skin condition. I'm going to remove one glove. I'm going to put hand sanitizer on it, let it dry, and I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to touch the skin, pinch the skin, pick the skin up, let the skin go. I'm going to clamp it. When I say clamp it, just kind of hit it to where it bounces in the jaw area. I'm going to brace with the other hand that's holding the forehead or the eye area, holding that area, while the other hand goes around and touch the skin, noting its elasticity, softness, roughness, texture, and skin condition. All right. Skin condition is sensitive skin. Skin condition can be dehydrated skin. All right, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the skin before we start. Next, I'm going to continue the consultation. From what I see, I'm going to start asking questions. All right. I'm going to analyze with the light the pore size. Are the pores large? Hydration level. Hydration, we're talking about water. Okay. Talking about water. So I may ask questions like, you drinking your water, or how much water do you drink a day? How often do you shampoo? Things of that nature. What kind of lotion do you use? Because all of that involves some type of water absorbing or water removing from the skin. We're going to talk about pigmentation issues. That's hyperpigmentation, dark spots, hypopigmentation, light spots. Okay. We'll also talk about muscle tone, broken capillaries. We'll talk about facial wrinkles. Wrinkles, another term for that is called rhytides. Signs of skin disorders, and so on. When you're doing the analysis, okay, and we're going to go into a video, you are looking for signs of infection. Okay, you're looking for areas, or you're looking for things that do not look right. Signs of infection, when you have to touch the skin, you're looking at the skin. Signs of infection are going to be inflammation, redness. Do you see inflammation is redness? Okay. Throbbing, local fever. Do you feel heat? Do you feel something with like a beat? Or do you feel something movement under the skin? Pus. Okay, it's a sign of infection. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, pain. when I touch it, when I move around, when I pinch the skin, did that person make a move? I'm looking for those particular things. If I don't see any of those signs, it's a great way to say, hey, we can move on to the next part of the service. Choose the products at that point. You do not choose the products initially until we know what's going on with the skin. Okay. Note the information on the client's chart, and then we're going to get ready to proceed. I would definitely make sure they have signatures, okay? Because from the client consultation form, the client made sure that they told us everything that they had going on. They signed the back of it or the bottom of it, which says, hey, I've been totally honest with you. Okay. And then now the analysis, you need to get some documentation for the analysis as well of what you see. Okay. And with both of these forms, we're pretty much ready to go. What happens is because of your form, you know exactly what we need for our client. Okay. If we do anything outside of that, especially operating outside of the scope of practice, so stuff that estheticians cannot do, when we start doing that, that opens up us for a lawsuit. We're liable for whatever happens. Okay. For the client that signs their form, they basically have signed that, hey, we've been totally honest and we have not left out any information. If you find out that the client did leave out the information and you performed the service and that service was not complimentary to the client, which means it caused an issue going on with their skin or something of that nature, they can't sue you because they signed that documentation. They signed that form and said they were honest. But if they forgot to tell you something, yeah, we can't do that. Okay. So that's always something that we have to look at. Get our documentation signed as part of this taking care of business. All right. Let me go back to our screen. Okay. So let's look at continued treatment. Since we looked at those tables, we needed to know that. Continued treatment. Figure 8.9 is here. It says for teaching purposes, please highlight. The basic facial procedure is divided into the following major steps. Be guided by your instructor. Some facial devices have been added to show you where equipment could be introduced into the basic facial. All right. We're just introducing this into the basic facial. As you look here, this will be your initial guideline. Then we'll move over to our video. We'll start with the client consultation, including review of contraindications. As we discussed before, contraindications is a word you're always going to hear: Cosmo, aesthetics, manicuring. You're always going to hear that word because anytime there's a red flag, it needs to be a notice. It needs to be like a light bulb that goes off that says, I probably shouldn't do this. I probably shouldn't do this, or I probably shouldn't do that, simply because of what we got going on. Okay. So that's client consultation, and then taking a look at the contraindications. Okay. Discussion of the completed client intake form, making sure you guys are on the same page. All right. Making sure the client signs the consent form. That's the purpose of even doing it, that the client is signing over that they are honest about what's going on. Okay, next we move into client draping and the esthetician washing their hands. Tennessee state law says you have to make sure that you're washing your hands, and you have to wash your hands before every service. Okay. You look at your initial skin analysis and continue the client consultation. The treatment plan is created. So after we have looked at the skin analysis, you can see what's going on with the skin. We see what's going on in the consultation. We can then decide what are we going to do with the client's skin. Then this is where we start creating what we call a treatment plan. That is, okay, your skin needs you say, hey, your skin needs moisture. It's lacking moisture, it's lacking oil, it needs a double dose of this. This is the type of machine that we're going to use. And so that is considered the treatment plan. The treatment plan also includes how long you're going to do those services. Well, we need to do these treatments for 6 weeks. I need to see you instead of once a month. I need to see you every 3 weeks. Okay. And so if it's a 6-week plan, you can see the client every 2 to 3 weeks, okay, depending on what's needed for their skin. Most average, those individuals come to get facials every 21 days. So you're usually seeing them every month, but now you will probably increase seeing them. Warm towels are an option. You can use the towels or facial cleansing cloths, okay? But a lot of individuals, they love their warm towels. That's where you can also use the steamer in place of the warm towels. Please note, the steam can be used in place of the warm towels, okay? The warm towels is, of course, comforting to the client's skin, but it is softening the pores and it's opening up the pores. So whatever's in the pores, that heat pulls it up. That heat pulls it up to the surface. I find that many individuals in beauty salons, they are using the steamer. In barber salons, they are using a steamer. Okay, but I feel like they're using the wrong type of steamer to do what they need to do. The steamer impacts larger, smaller areas. And when we look at the face, the objective of the steamer is to open up the pores. And once it opens up the pores, it's going to pull to the surface whatever's embedded inside that pore. When that happens, that's when we can go in and do our cleanser. But when we're using the same type of steamer for hair, the steamer that works on the hair component, which means the steam needs to circle around the cuticle like a polymer. And then it gently softens, and it works with product inside out. So if you're using a steamer and has not included product, and usually in order for steam to wrap around the follicle, it needs to be covered. The head needs to be covered. So when I see beauty professionals outside of estheticians using the steamer, I'm like, oh, it's cool, but you're not really getting the full effect of the steam. Okay, you're not getting the full effect of the steam. I use steam treatments for every color client, and I will use it on my natural clients as well, because it's going to open the cuticle, it softens, it takes your product and drives it straight into that hair area, and it works from the inside out instead of just trying to hurry up and get it to work on the outside. And the cool air with the steam, it just takes a longer time for the product to come in. So it's almost like it's wasting a lot of time, but you should definitely have a covered steamer, okay, if we're doing hair that really go in and does what it needs to do. The purpose of what it was made to do is to wrap around that cuticle, open, swell up, and take out or deposit what needs to go in. So that's warm towels, and use that for cleansing with appropriate cleanser and toner. You also can use cleansing cloths and things of that nature if you didn't want to use up your towels. In-depth skin analysis, we did discuss on 8.2, things to look for in the skin analysis, and we checked that out in chapter 5. The exfoliation procedure is optional, But most people, when they're doing a facial, the exfoliation procedure, it can become the most important part of the facial. Okay, the exfoliation procedure is like out with the old, in with the new. All right, so it's you can use a device option, high frequency over gauze to help. Also, you can use the crystal microdermabrasion in this area too. Exfoliation is just simply the removal of dead skin cells. And I'm going to tell you, whenever we are dealing with acne and have a buildup of just different things on the skin, dry skin, you can do the exfoliation, come back in with the high frequency, and that high frequency is literally going to kill the bacteria. So anytime that you're dealing with acne, my machine, number one machine needs to be a high frequency one. First thing it's going to do is eliminate bacteria. We want to eliminate the bacteria because that's where acne, that's where dirt and oils will mix to create pimples, aka acne. Okay. And so when we come in and eliminate dirt and bacteria, you're getting rid of the dirt. And it also is drying up that area that oil was just sit at. So the high frequency is the cheat code to getting rid of acne. Okay. Um, and then we look at number 7, the massage. Massage and mask steps can be reversed. And many people are like, what goes first, the massage or the mask goes first? Okay. For a lot of people, they choose to do the mask first. Remember here, it says massage and mask steps can be reversed. They choose to do the mask first as a treatment, and the massage relax the skin afterwards. Okay. And then you have some people that like to go in and relax the skin and then come back and do the mask. All right. It will definitely be based on who is sitting in your chair or laying on your bed and what their skin needs the most. All right. Softening with steam or warm towels can also steam, performing facial massage or doing exfoliation. You can have the steamer on while you're doing the massage movements, and you can have the steamer on while you're doing the exfoliation. Remember, the steam brings things up to the surface. The steam also, as the benefit for massage, is going to allow those movements to be felt more in depth, intense into those muscles. Okay. So it's going to really give you a form of relaxation. It's going to go deeper. The massage movements that you're doing on the surface will go deeper because of the heat that's contracting the muscles. All right. And once that person, literally, you're like, wow, this person went to sleep. That must have been a good massage. It not only was it probably, it felt good, but literally the steam opened up. The steam itself massages the muscles. And by you going in and penetrating and manipulating those muscles, you just did a 2-in-1. It's like you gave them something deeper, okay? Like a deep massage on their face or wherever it was. So you find people that really get benefits from massage and steam because they use them both at the same time. Your extractions and or deep pore cleansing, the extractions. When you say extractions, like what are we removing? Removing dead skin cells, stuff, junk that just sit on top of the skin and get clogged in the pores. But also you're removing what we call comedones, blackheads and whiteheads. There's open comedones and closed comedones. Okay. When you think about blackheads, they have been there the longest. When you see anyone with a blackhead, they have had that blackhead longer. It's set there longer. Okay. The whiteheads, when they are white, they haven't been there that long. Okay. Everything starts off with a white head and then it eventually goes over to a black head. You'll say, Ms. Cox, what happened? Why did it turn black? The oxygen in the air that we breathe, we exchange back and forth every day. The oxygen, we're walking in an element. So the more we're going walking and going to work, and we have all these other elements, that element, that atmosphere, that air is just sitting on the face. Okay. It's just sitting on the face, it's sitting on the skin. So that oxygen starts to oxidize. And when that oxygen oxidizes the skin, just like kind of like pumps air into that pore. When the oxygen pumps air into that pore, let me tell you, when that air comes in and gets ready to push back out, it starts to expand that pore. And when it starts to expand that pore, and then the comedone, whatever's left inside, says, "Oh, it's expanding. Let's get a little comfortable." It starts to sit there, and the more that oxygen comes in, they call that oxidation. The more it gets bigger, and it comes in, that whitehead now starts to look black. Okay, it just starts to look black, and it could probably be brown for a stage, but it just starts to look black. Many people have had blackheads for a very long time and they thought they were moles. I was like, that's not a mole. Something, your skin is moving around there. And what we'll find out once we soften that area, it's the hardest to remove. But once the area is softened with the steam and with the hot towel, once the area is softened, you start to press, and you press around it, it's going to shoot up. It's going to dislodge, it's going to come out. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to removing like oil, sweat, and dirt from the skin. You got to do the exfoliations, but also at the same time, you got to do those extractions. Some people include extractions in a basic facial, some people do not. Okay. So, because extractions could take a lot of your time. Many individuals I know charge $1 a minute or extractions. Okay. It's like, hey, we can do a basic facial. I'm gonna give you 3 to 5 minutes, right? And if it goes outside 3 up to 5 minutes of extractions, that means you're gonna have to book again, and you're gonna have to pay extra for the extra time that I have to spend on the extractions. Remember, time is money. You can't get time back. Okay, unless the Lord gives it back to you. You can't give time back. And if you have something set and it takes an hour and it takes you 1 hour and 15 minutes to finish, you've moved over into somebody else's time. Or you moved into your prep time. Now you're rushing to get started on time. And so it's just boundaries that we learn as we learn. We learn business as we're learning our technical skills. It's just we're learning boundaries, but you have to be knowledgeable and say, hey, if this takes longer than such and such time, I'm going to have to reschedule you just to come back in for the extractions. Okay. Now, extractions are amazing. It makes you look like you have a new skin when you're done. All right. I would not extract longer than the 5 minute RAM, simply because if I go longer than 5 minutes, my clients could get distracted. Okay. They could get distracted. They could have redness. They could even bruise on the area where I'm trying to pull extractions from. And so you have to be very, very careful with that. If clients have sensitive skin, I may not do extractions, and then it may be, I may cut it down to 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. Because sensitive skin, it may hurt and it may bruise. And you may even break the skin. All right. Causing cuts and things like that. So you have to be very careful with your extractions. When you look at masks are your treatments, okay? You have to have a mask. In the express facial, the mask can be cut down or removed, but the mask is the treatment, okay? The mask helps treat whatever you have going on your skin. So you can have clay mask, hydrating, jelly mask, any mask type to go with what the client needs. There's a mask that goes with it, okay? Also, it added that this is a time that you can use your facial device, your galvanic treatment machine. Okay. What happens, the galvanic treatment, it actually is a negative and a positive. It causes your skin to literally soften and open up to receive these great premium, these great ingredients, and the ingredients can go where they want to go, okay, and be more performative, which means they'll go to work faster. Anytime you're using a machine, the machine is going to take the product where it needs to go faster. If you're not using a machine, just a standard facial, you have to wait on that process to happen. Okay. So most of the time you will see me pick up a machine because clients want ready-made results. They want some type of results. So when we're using machines and picking up equipment, sometimes clients are able to see a difference after the first time that they're getting that facial service. Okay. And remember the galvanic pushes the product deeper into the skin, the different skin levels, and whatever's going on with the skin get those levels starts to feed on that ingredient and begins the improvement process. Okay. Galvanic is an older machine. I'm going to give you an example of the difference between galvanic treatment and chemical peel. Okay. The chemical peel works through the layers of skin in a matter of days. Okay. The galvanic could take a matter of weeks. So you see people that do the chemical peel, they sacrifice for a matter of days, and then they have this beautiful skin afterwards. Well, back in the day when you just did the galvanic treatment, okay, that treatment, you will see the skin improve over a number of weeks. And so people don't have weeks like that anymore. And so they have invented and cultivated new, I would say, new products, new technology in the products and things of that nature. We'll look at the toner. Okay, toner is going to balance the pH of the skin. My favorite toner is rose toner. It helps cool down skin. That's the inflammation you may find. So toner is amazing. And toner allows you to go from product to product. Toner is balancing the skin because these other products are going to take the skin out of its pH, going to leave the skin unbalanced. So every now and then you got to go back in and balance the skin. Okay. Serums, eye treatments, lip treatments. This is again treating areas that something is going on with the skin. Everybody should have serum. My serums I love to use are vitamin based, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E. Okay. Vitamin-based serums. They're going to preserve the youthfulness in the skin. It's going to help minimize the wrinkles around the eyes, around the mouth. It's going to help prevent dark spots. It's just going to improve the texture of the skin. And then you have eye treatments. Okay. As you want to keep that young, youthful look under the eyes, reducing dark circles. And then you have lip treatments in which you want to have smooth, adjustable lips. And that's going to include cleansing, scrub exfoliation, probably with sugar, and go back in with either mask, moisturizer, same things, but you're improving the texture and look of and feel of the lips. Moisturizers are commonly closing to the end. Moisturizers, I do like light, fluffy moisturizers. I don't like anything super heavy. And your clients won't like anything super heavy on their face either. Okay. I will mix a good moisturizer with a sunscreen, especially if I don't want to have this heavy buildup. I just take a dot of each and put that on the face and massage. You will have some people that will add serum, moisturizing, sunscreen together, 3-in-1. Okay. It reduces the time, your last couple of minutes of your facial. It's going to be very effective. Great barrier for going out of town, great barrier for going to bed. And it's a great protection shield before you put on your makeup. Okay. And 15, as you prepare to close it out, is service is complete, including the post consultation and home care. So that simply means at the end, we're going to talk about look at your skin now. These are the benefits. We'll also talk about this is what you need to do at home. And then this is when you come back and see me as well. So this is just the basic procedure at a glance, okay, and talks about the timing of the procedure. And so, as you are learning, you also have to adapt that we're not going to be on this facial, we're not going to be over these people for a long period of time. In closing, skincare, you guys go ahead and take a look at the initial consultation and analysis. We're more on that. We do have to talk about medical conditions, diet, and lifestyle. It's going to be something that is key. Also, medications that they're already on and whatever home care routine that they have been working on. Okay. All of that is from page 307 to 310. That is a reading homework till Friday. Okay, that's a reading homework till Friday, page 307 to 310. And also, you are working on your check in questions. All right, aesthetics, as I discussed before,